What's up, heathens? How ya doing? Tonight, as you can tell, the Eagles are being represented as being a paramount of creation and definitely proving that evolution is impossible. Now, luckily, we do have the creator of the video that we're going to be watching tonight in the chat, and just to let you guys know, we're only going to be reviewing the first about 9.5 minutes of his video. It goes on for much longer, but I did manage to update it down in the description, so if you want to see more of his video, you can go down there and click that link on the original video line, and you'll be able to get to his video and see what else he says, because he does talk about a lot of other things in his video. It's not just the one thing that we're going to be talking about tonight. So, Drew's book reviews. First up with the super chat. Say hi to Marianne and Cipriano watching with me. Hey there, Marianne and Cipriana. Did I say that right? I hope I got it right. Because you know how I am with names. And you're just lucky I didn't say Cypressania? Narnia? Something? I don't know. Anyways. So, if you're new to the stream, you know that we have a little bit of a structure to it. We got Today I Learned, and then Shitty Ass Science, and then the video, and then comments after that. Anyways, we got John here. Thank you, John, for being in the comments. Maybe you can, he said that he's got a thick skin. We'll find out. I'm not sure.
Good luck, John.
Like,
we're not going to be nicer because you're here.
All right, let's start this shit show, shall we?
This theory of evolution, there's some things about it I'm not fully convinced on, but if you question it, then you're crazy.
So I know this is just right on into it, and you say that if you question it, then you're labeled as being crazy. And I would contest this, because people that question evolution or want to know more about evolution, we don't label them as crazy. The point at which you're labeled crazy is when you convince the government to give you $1 million or so in tax credits so you can build a fucking ark, just because you want to shit on evolution and push your creationist agenda.
They got $18 million in tax
18 million! What the It's 18 times worse than I just said. But like at that point, when you start saying, no, well, you know what? The Bible says God did all this shit. He farted out the universe and he sneezed Adam into existence, and then he reached inside Adam and pulled out a rib and fashioned a woman and all this other shit, and boom, y'all believe in magic. It's like, don't give me that shit. I don't believe in magic. You fucking believe in magic if that's the direction that you particularly lead. So, of course, right here you're just saying that, oh, you're branded as being crazy. That's just not the case. If you want to know more, we're more than happy to educate you.
Well, plus people call you crazy at the point in which you reject all evidence of anything other than what you have already decided is true. That's when you're crazy.
Well, right. It's when you're given proper evidence and you still reject it in favor of your own preconceived bias, then you know that's it. That's the point at which you're. I don't know. I see. I wouldn't label them as crazy at that point. That just willfully wrong, which is not necessarily worse, but it's still really bad.
Maybe makes a good point. It doesn't make you crazy. It makes you stupid. Ding.
Dang. Demonic Davro says, yay, evolution! That's what I like. All right, okay, let's see where John goes with this.
So, I don't really care if you think I'm crazy, so I'm just going to say, what's wrong with this theory? First of all, it's impossible. Okay? Let me explain.
Thank you. I was waiting for that. It's impossible. Next topic. sorry, John. I just have to sit there and be like, I don't know what you were thinking. It's like, oh, it's impossible.
Video over.
Hold on. Fuck, I gotta explain. let me walk you down my path of knowledge.
We have these cargo jets in the Air Force, cargo planes that can carry tanks. It's amazing. built by science, but nobody thinks they evolved. No one thinks that thing evolved. It was made. And a cargo jet.
All right, before you go there, I agree. It was made. It was created by humans. But that has no bearing on whether or not evolution's true. Things self-erecting themselves, or things erecting themselves is not like a component of evolution. So the fact that it was created and not by some natural process has literally no effect on evolution whatsoever. But you're about to get into how you're tying it in there. We do have Who's Your Atheist? The easiest way to tell the creation story is false is that Eve never made Adam a sandwich. That is the original sin. Fucking Eve! Goddamn you and not making your fucking sandwiches. Make your sandwiches, Eve, and then all this shit wouldn't have happened. We'd all be running around naked with our dicks out and titties out. Fucking Eve.
I give good sandwich.
You do give good sandwich.
Is awesome, but it can only carry half of its own weight. So as awesome of a design as it is, it only carries half of its own weight. Tanks are really heavy,
shit.
but
this is actually true. I did look it up. Like the C-17 cargo plane weighs like 282,000 pounds, I believe. I've actually got the little Google searches that I did in the chat there. Or not chat, but in the description. It's 282,400 pounds is the C-17 Globemaster 3. It's a Boeing plane. And then if you look up for combat tanks, a general combat tank weighs about 62 metric tons, which is I want to say like 128,000. I got that linked right below that. So it's 136,687 pounds.
So Krismer has a really good argument, and he's totally right.
Okay.
He said actually they did evolve. The schematics evolved over time, made better and better with each iteration and each attempt at creating them. Scientists found newer and better ways of making them.
Well, true. No particular piece of machine. Thank you for bringing this up, Krismer and KC. For mentioning it here, because any particular machine system that you have out there at one point started in a simpler state and has evolved over time. Evolution is just the change. Like biological evolution is the change in biological organisms, but evolution in general is just a description of the change of things over a period of time. And for like planes, there's been a lot of different changes over the years, a lot of revisions, a lot of ways to make them better.
Yeah,
so
I mean, you don't see commercial flights on the Wright Flyer.
Well, huh? You don't see commercial flights on the Wright Flyer?
Right.
So yeah, excellent point. Thank you guys for bringing that up. But yeah, so 62 metric tons, 136. So I mean, that's pretty close. So he is correct here.
plane super heavy and very powerful. But an eagle, the scientists say that the eagle just evolved by chance. But an eagle's a better design than a cargo plane, because an eagle can carry 2 to 3 times its own weight.
Okay, so I'm about half and half here with agreeing with you and telling you you're saying dumb shit. So where I agree with you, birds are definitely like evolved to be very efficient flight machines, like biological machines, right? So, I mean, they have different biological systems that allow them to efficiently fly through the air. We are not currently at that technological level to perfectly mimic a bird. So currently, right now, birds are the most efficient flyers, of course, because they evolve that way in their biological systems.
But I also have to point out that you don't evolve by chance. That's not how evolution works. And just you saying that just tells everyone that you have no fucking idea what you're talking about, and you need to do a little bit of research, man.
Yeah, so it's not by chance. Natural selection is not chance. It's non-random selection of genes. Natural selection occurs because, and I know that you know how natural selection occurs because you actually describe it later on in the video, which I don't know if it's in this particular portion of it, but natural selection occurs by, let's say you have a group of animals and they're all like colored differently or something like that. A predator comes through, eats all of the ones that don't blend in, camouflage. And so only the ones that blend in the most are going to survive and they're going to propagate their genes. So over time, things change like that. And so it's a slow progression over many generations.
Well, and CC Sleeper also says that's how mutation works. The random, stuff that changes, that's mutation, not evolution.
Right. True. But it's not random as to which genes help the species survive in a particular environment. But where I have to disagree with you is how much an eagle can carry. I don't know if maybe you just didn't see it correctly or maybe you read it backwards or something like that. But if you look at one particular link I have in the description, this comes straight from the National Eagle Center. It's nationaleaglecenter.org, and it talks about their eating and diet. It says, how much can an eagle carry? An eagle can carry about 1/3 its body weight. Although eagles have the power to kill prey many times their own size, eagles are unable to carry more than just a few pounds. If a bald eagle catches a fish that's too heavy to lift out of the water, the eagle may swim a short distance to shore, dragging the fish, still gripped with their talons, using their wings breaststroke fashion.
Yeah, so maybe he just can't math.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe he just
read it wrong.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking that I'm willing to give it to him that he just read it wrong or something like that. But I mean, he is correct in the idea that birds are more efficient than planes. But at the same time, that's because planes didn't evolve through natural selection in the world. Through natural processes. Birds, however, have been made that way through the evolutionary process.
So John in the chat said, look up golden eagle carries goat off cliff.
Okay.
I feel like maybe you should have mentioned this in your video, John.
Oh, yeah, so let's see. There's actually a YouTube video. And it shows, let's see.
This one says the eagle throws it. This one says he drags it. So they're not actually flying with it.
No, and actually, I'm wondering, shit, I don't know if it'll capture. Let's see, window capture. Fuck. Nope. For some reason it won't window capture it. But yeah, so what?
Do your camera.
So, hold on. All right. So John here mentioned the eagle carrying a goat off of a cliff. Now, the eagle doesn't actually carry the goat off of the cliff. What it does is it swoops down, it grabs the goat, and then it just sort of
slings it.
Well, it doesn't sling it. It glides. It's a controlled fall is what it is. It glides down to the ground. It doesn't actually flap its wings and carry it away. The goat's not actually being carried by the fucking eagle. It just grabs onto it and it just sort of pulls it down off of the fucking cliff. So I guess it can eat its eyes out or something. I don't know. Whatever the fuck savage ass golden eagles do.
Creepy ass birds.
But yeah, so that's not actually proof that they can carry more than 1/3 their own weight. That's actually proof that it definitely does.
Doesn't.
Or doesn't. It definitely doesn't carry that much weight. Sorry, thank you, honey.
So an eagle's a better design happened on accident, or by chance, or by natural selection.
No.
But a cargo plane, which we would never think would accidentally fall together only carries half of its weight.
Well, I mean, still, I mean, even if you take like the actual like how much it can carry, I mean, obviously we've been able to design planes that can carry more things than like an eagle. So I feel like this particular point that you're trying to make here is rather bunk and doesn't actually hold any weight to say that evolution doesn't exist. Like even if the bird could carry 2 to 3 times its own weight, this argument does not at all touch like the validity of evolution. So I'm gonna have to stamp this particular argument a fucking idiot argument.
Ding.
But they say that the eagle did evolve, but the chances of that happening, they're just impossible. For life.
In order to say that it's impossible, you need to show that it's impossible. Like, you can mathematically show that something's impossible. But given enough time, the evolutionary process has enough time to work to make things happen in the fashion that we're talking about.
Life to have evolved on Earth, and the evolutionists are honest about this. They say it's like one chance in the trillions of trillions.
Just because it's a big number doesn't mean that it's impossible. When you have big numbers, but you have a big number space or a big time frame in which for it to happen, it will most definitely happen. Like, the probability of it happening is 100%.
Just like other pseudoscience dumbasses, he does not understand scale.
No, I'm sorry, John. You don't fucking understand scale at all.
It would be like rolling a die, and it landing on one every time, trillions of times in a row, without one mistake.
Where is your basis for saying this? Like, you're just saying, oh, that probability matches this probability. But, I mean, if you had, like, fucking umpteen million, quadrillion, whatever the fuck large-ass number you can get all rolling at once, then, yeah, that could possibly happen.
Nobody thinks that could happen. In school, they tried to explain these odds, and they said, imagine you put a bunch of chimpanzees in a room.
Okay, so instead of actually addressing this whole chimpanzee in a typewriter room, which is actually a thought experiment that's supposed to relay to you the fact that if you give something enough time, things can happen. And it's not just one monkey with a typewriter, it's a lot of different monkeys, for an infinite amount of time. And eventually they'll type out the words of Shakespeare. Now, this is not an actual experiment that you can actually run. This is a thought experiment meant to teach you a point or teach you some kind of concept. And the concept is the whole pigeonhole theory. You give it enough time with enough instances for it to happen, it will eventually happen. So Jon Helms, though, in the comments right now says, also the moon is moving away, rewind that clock, and the tides would put Mount Everest under like a mile of water every day. And that's actually not true, John, because the distance at which the orbit is elongating or getting bigger has varied over time. And at one point in time, the moon was, pretty far away from the Earth, and that's where it started at. And it's changed in its orbit over time. But just because it's moving at a certain rate now does not mean that it's always moved at that rate in the past.
Well, yeah, and you don't just get to, like, rewind the clock at the same rate until the moon's ass is touching the Earth's ass.
Right.
Like, that's just dumb. Fucking dumb. Learn science, man.
Yeah, and I have a video where I talk about this, and if I would have known that you would have been bringing that up, I would have put it in the description. But anyway, so he's going to talk about this infinite monkey thing where we've discussed before. And, John, you're just basically going to say that it's impossible for that to happen when it's merely just a thought experiment to teach a point.
Has he just, like, I'm just asking, has he just, like, compiled all the dumbest fucking arguments we've ever heard into one video?
Yeah, it gets better.
John, man, shit.
And you gave them a bunch of typewriters. Given enough time, those chimpanzees would work out all of the writings of Shakespeare. Whoever said that must not like Shakespeare very much, but they say that these chimpanzees would pound on these typewriters and eventually they'd work out the entire works of Shakespeare. I've never seen a chimpanzee on a typewriter, but if I just imagine in my tiny little brain what would happen, I would imagine a bunch of broken typewriters before I would imagine a single English word getting typed by a chimpanzee. They'd be throwing poop all over the place, not writing Shakespeare. Ridiculous.
I'm sorry, but that's just a fucking idiotic thing to say.
Make it millions and billions.
Yeah, I know. It's just a fucking idiotic thing to say, okay? Because it's not to be a literal experiment. It's not supposed to be literal monkeys that are in the room. This is just like an sort of random generator generating this stuff. It could be a monkey. It can be a program that runs forever. It can be anything that you want it to be. It doesn't have to be a monkey. But you're getting hung up on these minor details that don't really matter to the original thought experiment.
Billions of years in order for the odds of life on Earth to happen. But here's the problem. If we say the Earth is really that old, did you know that the sun is getting smaller? They know that. It's getting like 5 feet smaller in diameter a minute.
This is wrong. What?
Sorry. I'm trying. Please continue.
Okay, so if you look at the Skeptic Friends Network link that I have in the description, if you really want to go there and do this, they pretty much lay out how two astronomers examined solar meridian transit records and came up with this apparent shrinkage of the sun. But the actual core of the sun does not at all change. It's like the luminescence or whatever of the sun. It oscillates over time, and so it's not actually changing like the diameter of the sun. It's just the luminescence of the sun is oscillating. Let's see. It says, at first glance, the record suggested that the sun had decreased in diameter over several observational periods, but that study turned out to be flawed. Later, other astronomers discovered that our sun pulsates with varying changes in apparent luminosity, but the mass of the solar diameter itself remains unchanged. So this is actually something that like the Institute for Creation Research had co-opted and just ran with it, regardless of more recent scientific studies on this particular topic. So you just have bad information at this point.
Well, see, this is what happens when somebody decides what the answer is and then goes out and finds sources to confirm their answer. Like, it's just confirmation bias. Like, that's all you're doing. You're not actually doing research here. That's not how that works.
No, true. And what you're basically, and the fallacy that you're trying to commit here is poisoning the well. You're trying to make it seem like science can't give us accurate predictions about reality, because science is wrong about this one particular thing that you don't actually present evidence to say science is wrong. You're just like, I say the moon, or they say the sun is shrinking 5 feet every year. Or every day, well, every hour, every minute, I don't give a fuck. It doesn't really matter. I just gotta throw shit out because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, you know, you don't actually give any kind of information to say that science is not reliable or the scientific method isn't reliable. And you're just trying to poison the well of the conversation. We got a super chat from Corey Morrison. Creationists use so many of the same arguments, I could make a bingo drinking game. Lol. If you follow this, you could die from alcohol poisoning. Well, shit, you know what? You reminded me of something. My damn near clear as water beer.
Also, Drew's Booker.
Huh?
You have 2 more super chats.
It's Michelob Ultra Lime Cactus, in case you're wondering the bitch made kind of beer I'm drinking. Terrence Clark, repeat after me. A trend line doesn't imply constant change over time. That's a good point there, Terrence. And we had Drew's book reviews. Cipriana, we would not have a sun if that was true. That is true, but that's also the point that he was trying to make, is that it's ridiculous that it's shrinking 5 feet per day or per year, however you want to. The actual result that people came up with and were wrong about was 5 feet a year. But I agree that in either case, it would mean that the sun would disappear, and that's why he's saying that science is wrong about things.
It's just burning so much fuel. It's like if you burn a match, it gets smaller. That's what's happening to the sun.
Well, I mean, the sun does use up helium at its core. It fusions helium together, and it creates heavier elements, hydrogen. Hydrogen's lighter than helium. No. Fuck me. I think it's helium. Helium element. Atomic number 2. So it's hydrogen. It crushes hydrogen together to create helium, and all this other shit. And there's multiple different elements that are in the sun that are fusioning together and being made and everything like that. The heavier elements are made inside the guts of stars, and when they explode because they run out of fuel, that they throw that across the universe. Anyways, so I mean, it does use fuel, and it uses a lot of fuel every day. That doesn't mean that the sun is shrinking.
Well, if the Earth is really that old, the sun would have been much bigger a long time ago, and it just would have, the gravitational force would have pulled all the planets toward it. It would have ate them like Pac-Man.
No, I mean, that's not actually true. I believe as our sun moves into a red giant, which I think is the current thing, when will our sun become a red giant? In approximately 5 billion years, the sun will begin a helium burning process, which right now it's burning hydrogen. Then it'll burn the helium, turning into a red giant star. When it expands, its outer layers will consume Mercury and Venus and reach Earth. So actually, it happens the exact opposite way that you're talking about. And I'm just doing simple Google searches. This is basic. I'm literally typing in the questions that you might have into Google, and it's directly given. I don't even have to click links. Google's already I got you, fam. Here you go. There's the information.
But they don't ever talk about that sun thing and this time thing together, because people would be like,
no, they most definitely talk about the sun thing and the time thing together. It's rather important.
Something's wrong there. But they've got this wonderful evolutionists, have a really wonderful imagination,
Fucking back on track, thank God.
To think about chimps writing Shakespeare. They can think about all the stars in the universe, so eventually life is going to happen. Well, that is logical. They take it even further. Their imaginations are so awesome, they say that this isn't the only universe. There's multiple universes. There's the multiverse. And in some planet on some universe somewhere, you are blue and you're walking upside down. Now, that's how the multiverse is. Anything that can happen does somewhere.
Okay, so the multiverse or parallel universes is only in a hypothesis stage right now. And it's actually something that we can't verify at all. So I don't know why you're talking about this like it's established scientific facts or something like that, or it's a scientific theory. This has no bearing on whether or not evolution is a real thing. You're still just trying to poison the well of science to say, oh, science says these ridiculous things, and so therefore we shouldn't trust it for evolution. I mean, this is just some basic fallacy shit that you're committing here, John.
John says ridiculous things, therefore we shouldn't trust him for anything.
Exactly.
Except it works out in that case.
Multiverse. It's ridiculous. So they've got this great imagination, but then they start getting mad at, like, if you mention God, they start getting mad and they say, I just refuse to believe, I can't imagine that there's just some God, it's just some bearded white man up there in the sky that just made us.
I'm sorry, this is just a fucking idiot thing to talk about right
Ding.
here. Because, I mean, it literally makes no sense. Like, science should never concern God because God is a supernatural thing. Science can't describe God at all. So you shouldn't be bringing God into the laboratory or anything like that. Consequently, I would say that most scientists out there would be the most amenable to the religious crowd. You know why? Because a good number of scientists are fucking religious. It doesn't, like, you paint the scientific crowd as being just this big atheist fucking giant that we get so fucking pissed off whenever you bring up God with our science labs. Don't you go mixing God in with our fucking science and shit and causing shit to explode out of our beakers and stuff. Ah! Like, that's not science. Like, science has a multitude of religious people in it, as well as non-religious or secular people. It's just that good scientists know to keep God out of the laboratory and out of, like, just the way they think about science in general. I mean, sure, that's compartmentalizing things a lot. It's, it really shows how good people are at compartmentalizing and separating out the God belief from the science, and where they contradict, they put up those nice little walls so that they can just ignore the contradictions. That's fine if they want to do that, but if you're going to get into an argument about evolution and whether or not God had anything to do with it, you're going to find yourself on the wrong side of this argument.
Couple of super.
Right. Josiah Hansen, I'm smelling some Hove in here. It's not good. Blah. I love pantomiming those.
I know. And
Corey Morrison, I'm blue. If I was green, I would die. Let me do this. I'm blue. If I was green, I would die. Ba-doo-bee-da-doo-doo.
Also, Nicholas Tyminski in the chat wants to know if there's anything below alternative facts on your shirt.
Oh, yes. So they got alternative facts, and it says noun, a lie. And I got to tell you, I'm sorry, John, this entire video is a fucking alternative fact.
That's your imaginative description of God? You just described the multiverse. I know you got a big brain, but your idea of God as a bearded white man?
Well, okay, I mean, you understand why we consider God to be a bearded white man, right? I mean, Christians themselves have painted him as a bearded white man. All throughout history, we've got paintings about him being a bearded white man. It really doesn't matter if he's a bearded white man. He could be a fucking hippie with black-ass hair that also deviates between red and black at the same time. He could have zebra-colored hair. I really don't give a fuck. He could be a guy, some kind of new age hippie up there that just, I don't know, jizzed out the universe one day and played around with the jizz in the dirt and made Adam. I mean, I don't care how you classify this God. You think of him as this being in the sky, regardless of what you describe him as. He's just a being in the sky, and one day he just popped existence into existence. And magically, mind you, you're talking about how it's ridiculous for me to believe in, like, evolution, Big Bang Theory, and all this other shit, science in general, when at the same time, you literally believe in magical fucking shit creating everything that we know and controlling everything that we know. You have to see the hypocrisy in you laughing at the scientific crowd for believing in these things that you consider ridiculous when you actually think magical shit happened.
Where did the imagination go? But they do that. I think part of the reason that they'll do that is because we live in, like, a very racially charged nation. And all you got to do is like say, you're just saying God's some white man. Then a lot of people are going to like act emotionally from that. And they'll be like, yeah, that sucks. I don't like that. And then they're responding emotionally. And these evolutionists can tend to play on your emotions. You shouldn't let them play with your emotions like that.
We're the ones that are emotional?
We're emotional about it? I get that there are people that can get emotional about the conversation, but I don't like the generalization fallacy that you're using here to classify all evolutionists as being this emotional wreck of a person. The Random Explorer says Steve Buscemi is God. Oh, we would be fucked if that was true. Godless GLK, thank you for the super chat, man.
So speaking of evolution, and since race comes into it eventually, evolution is pretty racist.
Fucking idiot.
Ding.
In case you're wondering, that's the idiot bell.
Yeah, he probably
no, evolution is not racist. And I feel like Godwin's law is about to come into effect here.
Okay, well, at least the people who are in power in countries who really believe in evolution, they end up turning pretty racist.
Okay, let's apply this logic right here. Asshole A employs evolution or evolutionary thinking or Darwinism or whatever to install genocide, right? He tries to artificially select the human race for particular traits, and he kills off everybody that doesn't meet those particular traits. So asshole A uses like this idea of evolution to do that, which is not really evolution. That's not what. If anything, you want to blame Gregor Mendel, who came up with genetics and everything like that. But anyways, you want to say that he uses evolution. Fine. But then you've got asshole B over here that uses your own goddamn religion to do the exact same shit. So, I mean, does that mean that your religion's racist? Did I just flip the script on your ass? I don't wear my hats backwards. I just did that for I have to say, John, I have amazing pause game, and this video should have been like the thumbnail.
This one right here.
This one right here.
Yeah, he looks kind of dopey in that one, doesn't he?
Yep.
Bless his heart.
Hitler.
Oh, fucking Godwin's law. Ding! Fucking idiot. I don't know why you gotta bring up Hitler, man.
Hitler was Catholic.
Hitler was Catholic, and he pushed. And even if you don't want to consider Hitler to be Catholic or Catholics to be Christian, he was pushing the Christian God. He believed in Jesus and all of that other shit. So he definitely was Christian in some aspect. We got Hoosier Atheist saying, wait, didn't God try to do that with the flood when he killed all the unworthy people? Yeah, but you know what? That's God. God doesn't murder people. Okay? That's just what God does.
It's
he
not
just
murder.
zaps the fuck out of people.
It's not murder when God does it.
It's not murder when God. That's a special pleading argument, by the way. Just might want to put that right there.
You don't use that.
Keep it.
You use a lot of bad arguments, sweetie. Don't use that one.
I'm just saying, keep that in mind, special pleading, because that's what a lot of arguments are. Corey Morrison, if evolution is true, why is my kitty cat so cute?
Because kitty cats are cute.
Yeah. Let's see. Milwaukee Atheist, glad I'm finally catching a late stream. Hat backwards GE is sexy. Taking my money.
Somebody in the comments, I know it's not a super chat and I know it's not time yet, but Random Explorer says we need a Sasquatch emoji.
Oh, I think I got a good idea for the next one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh shit, William Stein says Hitler denounced evolution and banned Darwin's works. Stalin was a Lamarckian and a Russian Orthodox seminary student. Thank you, William, for putting that in there. I don't deny that, what was it? Stalin? I think Stalin was an atheist or a nihilist in some kind of way. But I mean, he employed state atheism, I do believe.
And state atheism is not atheism, Jon Helms. Just
Right.
so you know that. They're different.
They
You can
are.
look it up. It's easy to find.
Hitler loved evolution. He believed it. He felt like it was his.
Hitler Hitler loved evolution. He jacked off to evolution every night. I mean, you couldn't open up that Darwinist book over there without the pages fucking sticking together all the goddamn time. Jay Jonesy, thank you for all you do. Just having to watch these lazy, unintelligent arguments from these fallacy-ridden apologists is exhausting. Love you guys. Thank you there, Jay Jonesy.
His duty to advance the race, to evolve farther. He said that the Slavic people were part monkey. Some other types of people were more monkey. He gave like a grade for how monkey people were. And then he said that the Jews were completely monkey. So then, you know.
Jews were completely monkeys, honey. The Jews, 100% monkey.
So does that make me like 4% monkey?
Yeah, you fucking chimpanzee. Okay, that's why you swing it across the fucking ceiling like 4% of the time.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Just not in the morning.
So, no, not in the morning. That's a little tough. So anyways, John here thinks that that Hitler graded people by how ape they are. And there's a little bit of actual history behind this, because Hitler had this whole idea of different hierarchy, of this singular hierarchy with the races, and he felt like some were more like apes than other groups, and so he wanted to weed out the ones that seemed or looked more like apes. That's not the reason why he hated the Jews, though. That part I did not find any kind of actual corroborative information about him calling the Jews completely monkeys. He called the Slavic people ape-like and all this other stuff. But here's the point to make. We're all fucking apes. We're all still part of the great ape family. And so just because asshole A uses concept B from Darwin's theory or evolutionary thinking or something like that, like just because he uses some semblance of it doesn't mean that the entire ideology, or not ideology, but the entire idea of evolution or Darwinism to be in fact racist. Just because a racist asshole uses it doesn't make it racist. If that were the case, then I would say that religion is just a pedophilic, warmongering, bloodletting, human sacrificing, all this cannibalistic fucking cults, and that
that's not totally wrong.
Well, the point is that everybody that uses it, or that makes, or not everybody that uses it, but that makes all of religion this fucking bloody mess, and that they just want to kill everybody not like them and everything like that, which is not actually representative of the religious community now. It may have been at one point in time in history, but now it is not that way, and that doesn't make the religion itself.
So Jon Helms said, why do apes get special attention? Didn't we all come from fish, which came from single-cell organisms, which came to life when it rained hot rocks?
Rained hot rocks?
But here's the thing. You need to go and learn about classification of species. You need to learn about classification and how we do that and how that works and why we're part of the great ape family. You can follow it. It's really simple. You just need to be able to read.
All right, John, are you looking? Okay, so here's evolution, basically. You got your single-celled organism right here. Pay attention to my finger, because I'm flipping you off. Here's the first organism, right? Single-celled organism, and then it branched off, and it kept branching off, and then every motherfucker around here branched off of this single fucking organism. So we share an ancestor with apes in the past. It's a proto-ape kind of animal. And we broke off from that animal, and now the only extant species that are around are part of the great ape family, which we are a part of. So, I mean, just think of this motherfucker right here, right? That is evolution.
And Pine Snake also says, I take it you are confusing abiogenesis and evolution. Please learn the difference. And that's a good point. You need to learn the difference between abiogenesis and evolution. They're not the same thing.
True.
Gotta kill them. So, evolution's pretty racist, and it's dangerous. You say that there's all these different races. By the way, There's one race. It's the human race.
Hey, go fuck yourself.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, so races. I've actually got a link to that in the thing. There's a Wikipedia article for race, but like even if you just Google what is a race of people. So a race is a grouping of. This comes from the Wikipedia article. It's just the excerpt that Google pulls. A race is a grouping of humans based on shared physical or social qualities in categories generally viewed as distinct by society. First used to refer to speakers of common language and then to denote national affiliations, by the 17th century the term race began to refer to physical phenotypal traits. So actually, the original reason why race was a thing was to denote people that spoke common languages. And then it was about national affiliation. So there would be like a French race and a British race and American race and
Well,
all this stuff.
not exactly like that. There's not a French race.
No. I'm saying first used to refer. At the second stage, it was national affiliations.
Oh.
And now it's a term that refers to physical or phenotypal traits.
Well, and at the same time, like the human race, that is a different definition. That's just a different definition than the other way that we use race as a word.
Right. This would be an equivocation fallacy because you're trying to use the word in two different ways that are not equal. So I would just be careful about doing that kind of dipshitiot thing. Corey Morrison, I love you, KCGE. Y'all help with my depression. I'm so glad that we help with your depression, dude. Josiah Hansen rocks. Sigh, told you. Hovend, and then a bunch of emojis. I don't know. I might scare KC with the clown one. William Stein says, and Christianity hates the human race. How else do you define the concept that all humans are miserable sinners damned to eternal torture? Oh, fuck! Let's just fucking turn this shit around, shall we? What?
I said good point.
We're not different races, just different color skin. That's it. That's all.
Actually, the race does not just mean different color skin. It's not at all. Like, there's a lot of different phenotypal traits that go into what makes a race.
I just feel like John here has like the not even the most surface level understanding of these things. And he needs to learn things.
Mm-hmm.
Can you read, John? Read books.
Can you read shit, Ma?
Not the Bible. Don't read the Bible. I mean, you can read the Bible. You can. It's fine. John and I, GE and I here are reading the Bible. But you need to read books about science and books about biology and books about chemistry and books about how the world works. Natural science shit. Get on that.
Well, I got 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, whatever. A big beating heart.
Actually, the big beating heart is a genetic disease. If you have a big ass beating heart, you might want to go see a doctor so you can get that shit looked at. I'm just saying.
Different colors of skin, but you call them different races. Now, what's a race? A race is a competition. And boy, do they start competing.
Again, with the equivocation fallacy. Holy fuck. A race, like a 3-legged race that I could run by my fucking self. Right? Y'all know what I mean. A 3-legged race is different than a fucking race of people.
Hitler and Stalin killing people by the millions. Because, hey, are those really as people as I am? I don't know. Then it's not so big of a deal. Evolution's so racist and dangerous. Nietzsche...
How is evolution dangerous exactly? I get that you're saying that Hitler employed evolution, which he didn't. But, I mean, even so, that would make religion just as dangerous. I mean, I think that religion's dangerous in general. Because, I mean, that's part of the actual dogma and theology. But it just kind of seems like, you know, you're thinking that, oh, my religion is special and it's not dangerous. But then you're describing evolution as a religion, and you're saying that it's dangerous because an asshole used it. Evolution, at its core, is just an idea that describes the changes in things over time. Biological evolution is a description of how organisms change over time. And there's nothing racist about that.
Well, and here's the difference between science and religion is that if evolution or any other scientific principle were to be disproven, it would go away and be overtaken by the new thing that was proven, that disproved or whatever. If it was disproven, it would go away. In religion, that doesn't happen.
Yep. In the comments there, John has said that turn the other cheek seems to be very nonviolent. And what I have to say is that later on, Jesus tells his disciples that I have come to bring the sword and not peace. So don't give me that shit, John.
Also, have you read the whole Bible, or do you just like get the bits and pieces? Because I just feel like everything else that you don't even really know what the Bible says. Like if you knew what the Bible actually said, you wouldn't even say this sentence.
Honey?
What?
He is not religious, goddammit. He just follows Jesus.
Okay. You know what we should do? John, I recommend to you, go find the playlist for G and Casey's Daily Bible podcast and watch that. We'll explain how the Bible works to you.
Said that since we have killed God in the 19th century, the 20th century would be the bloodiest of all. And he was right.
So, wait. The 20th century is going to be the bloodiest of all. I mean, you realize that there were 19 other centuries, and then the BC era where there was those were all pretty fucking bloody, okay? In one way or another, they were bloody. And just taking this little sliver of history right now as being the bloodiest in history, I think is a bit disingenuous, and you're kind of asserting it without any kind of actual information. But regardless of what Nietzsche says, I don't give a fuck what Nietzsche says. Obviously, the belief in God is still here. Nobody can kill God because obviously God doesn't exist. Got a couple super chats just to take a break right here. Quentin Van Boeven, I have the feeling John forgot about those crusades. Yeah, it seems like it. Drew's book reviews. 1 Nephi 12:23 became a dark and lonesome and a filthy people, full of idleness and all manner of abominations. That's racism from the Book of Mormon. Yeah, the Book of Mormon, Mormonism in general is just fucking racist as shit. Of course, they got new information from the prophets and everything like that, so it's fine now, obviously. No, it's not. It's bullshit.
If you believe in evolution, eventually you got to believe in eugenics. Filtering out the bad gene.
Hold on, I gotta prepare to make this logical leap. 1 second. I made it, John. The logical leap. I made it. I didn't die or nothing. So, I mean, that's a giant leap in logic there. If you believe in evolution, obviously you gotta believe in eugenics. Like, evolution describes how organisms change over time, evolution uses genes and mutation in order to explain it, but genes and mutations and all that are separate scientific principles on their own. Gregor Mendel is the one that came up with genetics. So if you want to blame anybody for eugenics, why don't you go back to Gregor Mendel, who used, was it Mendel that, what did he use? He used some kind of little fucking plants in order to know how genes propagate through a species. You go there and you fucking start blaming Gregor Mendel, okay? Don't fuck with fucking evolution with eugenics and shit.
Genes and promoting the good genes. Eugenics, good genes. Hitler obviously was eugenicist. The chick who made Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, she said abortion was great because it would help to weed out or to limit or destroy or choke out whatever human weeds. The human weeds, the people who come from less money and bad family backgrounds. And she didn't say anything directly racist. She just said human weeds, but think about it.
Now, Margaret Sanger has her own problems with her quotes from the past, but this particular one is not as bad as you're trying to paint it. She wasn't talking about, forcibly getting rid of human weeds. She did use the phrase human weeds one time in the past in a New York Times article from 1923. That's it. And she was talking about how birth control, not abortion necessarily, but birth control, she was speaking generally about it. So, you bringing this up is another poisoning the well fallacy. You're using a red herring in order to suggest that you can't trust evolution because evolution leads to eugenics, which is in itself a slippery slope fallacy that doesn't make any kind of fucking sense. Holy shit, John, you have reached a new level of idiocy here because you are piling fallacy onto fallacy. You have multiple dimensions of fallacies afoot, John. I like the smug look you got on your face right now, though. Yeah, I just made a dipshit argument.
She said we need to promote the better groups of society. Wonder what she was talking about.
I didn't find that like promoting. Like she didn't say that you had to promote the better ones. She was just talking about how she was talking in metaphors and shit. She didn't literally mean they were weeds or anything like that, but Margaret Sanger was very much in support of, people getting birth control when they needed it and to stop forcing women that couldn't support babies or take care of their kids that they got pregnant with. She wanted to make sure that those women had options so that they did not have to become parents when they did not want to become parents, because those type of parents produce shitty fucking children. You guys have a lovely night. I can't wait to see you guys on Friday night at 8:30 p.m. Central. We also have the podcast that'll be dropping at 3:30 p.m. tomorrow. So be sure to tune in for that. And we have stuff posting at about 3:30 p.m. every day this week because that is the new time, and I'm announcing it right now at the end of this live stream. It just works out a lot better for me production-wise if it's at 3:30 in the afternoon. So, you heathens have a lovely night. We will see you guys tomorrow. And don't forget to stand up and use your voice.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, heathens.